Welcome, everybody, to the Minions of the Zoo Tuesday edition. I'm your keeper this evening, Skep Tock, and with me I have a minion by the name of the Harry Channel. Harry, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing okay. Yeah. Been a hell of a day. Gee, what are we going to talk about? I don't know. There are just so many things that are important.
There actually are quite a few things that are important. You know, Ben Shapiro famously does not take much time off from work except 1/7 of every week.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a lot more than me, by the way.
I was going to say it's a lot more than I do, and I'm retired.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he has he's taken a vacation though, and he's gone over to Israel, and he had decided he wasn't going to do any podcasting from over there, but he was so outraged by this raid on President Trump's residence at Mar-a-Lago that he had to come out and say something. And it's pretty much what everybody on the right-hand side is saying. You know, the left is saying, well, you know, it's Department of Justice and they know what they're doing. They're impartial. So let's just see where this leads. They must have a good reason for doing what they're doing. Everybody knows what they're doing. They're trying to make sure that Trump is ineligible to run for president. And if they can nail him on some trumped up, as it were, felony, he will not be eligible to run. Felons can't run for president.
Or can they?
They can't.
Well, Jonathan Turley raised the issue that the qualifications for running for president are in the Constitution. And it's cute that they've passed other laws that say different things. But
yes,
since it's actually listed in the Constitution as these are the requirements, it may not make any difference what they think.
Well, here's the thing about the Constitution. The Constitution says these are requirements. It doesn't say these are the only requirements. It says these are requirements.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it's a, you know, but I agree with you. I think that, you know, and I agree particularly with Turley, who I pay a lot of attention to. I think it's a fertile area of the law. I don't think there's, I don't think the law is competent to figure that out with what it has on the books right now, and that the courts will probably have to step in. That was just my quick hot take on it.
Yep. Yeah, well, there are all sorts of state laws in terms of who can qualify for which ballots. And I'm fairly sure that while they were sorting things out, he would end up not being on the ballots in a bunch of states. And they'd say, well, you can always put him in as a write-in.
Right.
Because that always works.
Yeah, well, that's realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Hi, Jenna. Jenna's in chat. And Spud is in chat. So is Joel. Assassin's here. Cannibalistic Wizard. And Spud Gun says, Skep, sorry to point this out, but saw on Twitter this is the last day that the FBI have to turn over the Hunter Biden laptop details, and Shapiro is a never Trumper. So there's that. Not sure I understand the first part of that comment. Today's the last day that the FBI has to turn over Hunter Biden laptop details. Do you know anything about that?
No. I was trying to think of a way to turn that into a Cinderella joke.
Yeah. Thanks for the help.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what to make of that. Let's just take it at face value. There's some sort of deadline, and he's basically saying there's some sort of deadline. Let's just take that as a given. And the timing of this is suspicious because it coincides with that deadline.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say that you could list a whole bunch of things which it could possibly be a diversion for.
Yeah.
Take your pick. You know, they're cheaper by the dozen. We've got video of Biden not being able to put on a jacket. I mean, in fairness, sometimes I get fouled up and have trouble putting on a jacket because
Just
things
going
are
to say,
inside out and, just shit happens. But he looked particularly old and feeble doing it. He
well,
he looked like I've spent more than a little bit of time in visiting people in nursing homes. I did not feel
yes,
like I was looking at the leader of the free world. I felt like I was looking at somebody who was getting help putting on their sweater before they got wheeled out to the inner court to watch the birds that they brought over to entertain the people.
yeah.
That's what it looked like. And I know it sounds like I'm being really cruel, but I actually felt really bad for the guy.
Well, I do. I feel bad for the guy every day of his life. He's being taken advantage of by some of the most amoral, and I mean utterly amoral people on earth. And those are the, political insiders in Washington, D.C.
Well, he is also kind of a shitty person if a lot of things which we think are true turn out to be true.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
so my
Look, I've been
sympathy only
following for
goes
years.
only goes
Yeah.
so far, but even if he is as bad as I think he is, it's still elder abuse. It's like, thank you for your service. Would you
Yeah.
like another pillow? Here you go, Mr. Biden.
Yeah. I don't feel like Joe Biden has served his country honorably because he's never done anything.
No.
He's never done anything but take, take, take. He is one of these pieces of human garbage that the Senate seems to accumulate, and they become long-term, go along, get along guys. Good old Joe, he'll, yeah, he's always look for the center of the Democratic Party. That's the safest place, and that's where you'll find old Joe, just making sure that the money keeps coming in, and uh, the next election looks good. He's completely, utterly self-serving, and has not done this country a good service at all, in my opinion. So I won't thank him for his service. In fact, I don't feel like he comes from a family. I feel like he and his family are an infection.
Yeah.
I may
Those
have
those boat
strong
docks
feelings.
that they have on like some lakes where it's just it floats. It's just like some pontoons with
Yeah, floating
yeah.
dock.
He,
Yeah,
he's like that. He'll
yeah.
there's no foundation. There's nothing underneath, right? And
Is
it's
that
not
not good and sturdy? Oh, sure.
it's not good to walk on. It's kind of unpleasant because it kind of shifts from side to
Moves.
side, and
Yes.
moves and stuff. But it's always level with the top of the water.
Oh
It
man.
always just sort of achieves its level, but in a squishy sort of not supported kind of way. And that's the
Yeah.
way he is. Back when the drug war seemed like the thing to hop onto, he was just all gung ho about the government going and locking people up.
Yep.
How much support from the press do you need to have to get away with the shit that he said and not be canceled?
Well, you have to have the press completely ideologically aligned with you. They have to look at you and say uh, you're the useful person we want in. We uh, exactly. Can you imagine if a Republican had done half the if Eric Trump had done the things that Hunter Biden had done? Think about that. Oh
Oh
my
yeah.
God, dude. They would be upside down and crazy. It would be grim.
Well, the
Hey,
obvious
Keeper Dam.
sorry.
I just said hi, Keeper Dam.
Oh,
Go,
hi, Kiefer
go
Dam.
ahead.
The obvious comparison is, of course, Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, because if this was a warrant about classified, confidential, papers with a security status that were supposed to have been turned over,
Sure.
busting the guy who can just say, "Oh yeah, I told myself it was going to be okay later." I don't know. I'm not really sure what the process of declassifying something is, but it seems like if you're going to go after him, there really ought to be a cell next to him for Hillary with 10 times the sentence. Because she not only
Exactly.
intentionally forwarded documents when she wasn't the president, but the Secretary of State, from secure systems to insecure systems, but
Yes.
she had stuff that was above top secret. And then when
On
she
her-
was subpoenaed,
on her home computer.
when she was subpoenaed, she destroyed the evidence by
Yes.
wiping it with a cloth.
And crushing the cell phone. Remember that?
Well, okay, it is actually fairly common to destroy stuff like that with physical means. It's the timing of it. It's the fact that she was supposed to turn this stuff over, but instead, oh no, that was already scheduled for deletion. And you know how efficient the Clinton machine is. You know, once something's in the bin for deletion, you just can't stop that. It's not like the episode of MacGyver where, you know, the little kid's in the back of the car and it's at the wrecking yard. And and there's like the big magnet that's carrying the car toward the big crushing machine. You know,
the kid is still in the car.
And MacGyver has to make like an EMP device to break the electromagnet or something. I don't know, however MacGyver works, but it's not like that. You know, there's no, it is like that because you can't stop it because you don't have MacGyver. So they didn't raid her place or the Clinton Foundation or do anything particularly aggressive to get information about all of that email and stuff. Because the stuff she had, I mean, just to put this in perspective, this is really seems like kind of a squabble, which was being worked out with the people who handle records and archives.
Yes.
Right. And they'd already turned over a bunch of stuff. Yep. So what exactly is in it for Trump in terms of these documents, right? So why would he want to hang on to these things? The only reason I can think of is because maybe there were documents that he didn't want to turn over because they thought they were going to make him look bad. Maybe that's the reason. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. Because otherwise, who cares, right? I mean, it's like, well, you know, well, you could say, hey, you know, like if he ends up trying to get a new girlfriend or something, yeah, you want to come over and look at some of my documents? You know, you break out some documents.
That wasn't actually where I was going.
Some soft cheese, put some jazz on. I don't know. Whatever it's going to be. I'm curious to hear what your theory is. Why would he want to hold on to those things when he was told he had to hand them over? What's your theory?
My theory, barking dog. Everybody take a drink. He's trying to set them up. Those 15 filing cabinets or whatever containers of documents that he wouldn't turn over to them. I think he tried to make them a bigger deal than they really were. Like that, he wants them to think that maybe there was something he was reluctant to turn over in those, and he might have pushed his bluff a little bit hard. And they came down on they just said, we're not going to stand for this. We're going to grab those things and see what he's hiding. And I think it's well within Trump's intellectual wherewithal to be trolling them with this. And there's absolutely nothing in there in those 15 file cabinets or whatever it is.
Well, he handed over 15. This is the stuff that wasn't in the 15 that they were.
I thought it was the 15.
No, he's already handed over 15 units. Insert unit name.
But he
here.
waited. He told them for a long time he wasn't going to hand that over. Then they got in his face about it, and then he handed over the 15. That's what I heard about.
Yeah, there was a whole thing going back and forth, and they had these conversations. And as we keep hearing, Justice Department, is in conversation with somebody, and then suddenly, surprise knock on the door, and you get the Oliver Stone treatment.
Yeah,
this seems to be a new thing they like to do. The people who are more or less cooperating with the law suddenly find themselves with people just coming in and shoving warrants in their face and then breaking stuff open. So Trump wasn't there. They were saying that they broke safes to get into them. I'm kind of curious whether they went in there with sort of the equivalent of the jaws of life and opened them up, or if they actually had somebody who knew how to open those things with a little more finesse. Is Trump going to come home and just find, like, it looks like somebody threw a party in his absence, like Barron just invited everybody over, and as a cover story, we're pretending that
it's the FBI, Dad.
It's the FBI, Dad.
No,
Yeah. Well, that's right. Baron's using the documents to impress the girls with the soft cheese and the jazz. Yeah.
Oh, me. Yeah.
Yeah. Want to come over? Gonna go over? We'll go hang out in my dad's office.
Yeah.
Hey, that's the thing. At least he doesn't drink, though. So, you know, you've got to have something to work with if you can't raid the liquor cabinet.
I suppose it's you know, it's a funny thing though that the Democrats in they've effectively weaponized the Justice Department and the FBI. They really have, and there are enough people in the FBI who are working in lockstep with the administration to pull this shenanigan off to make me think that there's real institutional corruption inside the FBI. Do you think that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, the Justice Department in general, right? So when we've got a Justice Department that, if you're in charge of one of the biggest teachers' unions or a school board or whatever, and you can just send a letter to the Department of Justice, and they will just step in line and give you all the legal cover you want.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. They're not supposed to be a personal services organization.
Nope.
And it's a little frightening. I mean, in the past, there have been people who've made remarks, I think when the Clintons were in there, about the IRS seemingly being used as a tool of intimidation. I don't know if it was true or if it was just happenstance, but it sure seems like they've decided, well, that seemed like a good idea. I'm sure they're going to be completely impartial about this, because even without them being vindictive, if they just go after certain types of people who have more opportunities to take deductions, say self-employed people, people who run their own businesses, it's not much fun auditing people who are paid on a W-2, who file a 1040-EZ.
Yeah.
It's a lot more fun to basically cost somebody $50,000 just to defend themselves, even if they've done nothing wrong.
That's the thing. They can go after, they can find everybody who's active in the Republican Party and just start auditing them, and just the amount of money that it takes to defend yourself in court it'd be a very effective way to harass people. I'm quite concerned about that.
Well, yeah, the number of California Democrats who are going to suddenly find themselves on the other end of an audit simply because of the type of income tax returns that they file is going to be huge.
Oh, yeah.
The day of reckoning is coming, because I don't think they're going to. I'm just going to assume
it'll be a number greater than -5.
Yeah, they're going to be a lot of people that are going to be saying, wait a second, this isn't what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to have all those IRS agents to go after those rich people like that MyPillow guy. You know that asshole's not paying his taxes. Go get the MyPillow guy. Stupid Trump sporting pillow merchant. Yeah. Merchant of death. Merchant. Trans people or whatever. So they're going to go after the MyPillow guy. That's what they think. But in reality, they're going to go after everybody. You know, doctors, lawyers, anybody who's got an LLP or an LLC or an S Corp or a little C Corp. Yeah. They're going after you. And sole proprietors, well, bend over, because Bohica.
Yeah. Well, sole proprietors have always gotten it in the end.
Well, sole proprietors certainly have more. There's a much bigger gray area, right? And I'm not saying that anybody's doing anything they're not supposed to do. But the question is, how much of the stuff that's sort of in the gray area do you take when you sit down with your accountant? And that's a value judgment, right? Because you know that if you get hauled into an audit, it's just based on their whim. They can just decide, oh, well, this isn't gray, this is black. Or, and then you end up getting fined. So you try to decide, okay, so which types of things in the gray area are going to survive the audit? Much like people self-censor because of the speech stuff. There's a lot of people that are going to pay extra taxes just because they don't want to take the risk of doing what they would have done previously in the gray area.
You're talking to one right here. I owned a home that had an office, a bathroom. It was right next to the garage, and it was really handy the way it was, and independent external access. It was my back door,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to take that as a home office because I had no home office. I mean, I literally worked out of my home, and uh, I my accountant told me don't take that because that's an audit flag. Like you can't believe you won't save enough money. He said you might not get audited this year or next year, but about one in every 3 years you'll get audited. This was back in say 2006, 2005, 2006, and it was uh, when you have a tax system as complicated as ours, I'm going to say that is prima facie evidence that that is uh, too complicated to be fairly administered, to be equitably administered. When you have a system that is as complicated and as self-contradictory as our tax system.
No argument from me.
when the IRS comes out and says, even if we give you advice, even if you're acting on our advice, if we come back and overrule ourselves, you're the one who is out of conformance. You shouldn't have taken our advice. You should know when not to take our advice. You should know when not to do what we tell you to do, even though when we tell you to do it, it has the force of law.
Yeah, there is no mens
insane.
rea defense. You can't claim that you didn't know.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
So there's no mens rea defense, but that's actually true of most federal law, right? So that's the way most federal law works. So there's no mens rea defense. You can't claim ignorance of the law as an excuse, right? You, gosh, what else is it? The standard of evidence is such that, well, they make a claim and then you have to prove that they're wrong.
That's it.
That's basically it.
Head.
There is no presumption of innocence when it comes to taxes.
No.
And we're going to go out and hire, what is it, 80,000, 86,000, some ridiculous number of additional auditors. And of course, these people, they just grow. They just have like a corral where they keep them. It's like a veal pen full of prospective auditors, right? And they're going to come out of that and they're going to hit the ground running because, of course, they're fully trained and they have judgment and everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 86,000 freshly minted people that, wouldn't be good enough to be a Lieutenant JG. We're going to take a bunch of those and we're going to turn them loose on the entrepreneurs of the U.S.
Yeah, exactly.
There's not going to
be great.
It's going to be great.
No, totally nobody's going to get shot.
Man, it's going to be a great time to be a CPA. CPAs are going to make so much money. Actually, note to self, maybe I should buy stock in Ernst & Young. Are they publicly traded?
That's a good question. Ernst & Young, Anderson.
There might be some money to be made here, which I will, of course, dutifully be paying the taxes on with my Schedule D. Thank you very much. No, they're an LLP. They're not publicly traded. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's
Ernst & Young LLP. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sure there's some publicly traded outfit that's going to make money. So you know who's going to make money, but the government is not your friend. As we all know, when the government shows up, they're not here to help. And any of these people who believe, no, this is just so that when you call the IRS, they'll be able to give you better advice, right? And the wait times won't be so long. I will say in their defense, and this is the only thing I'm going to say in their defense, I've had some dealings with them over the last few years, and the amount of time that it takes them to get back to you over relatively simple filings has actually gotten to be pretty insane. I filed insanely long. Okay, so I actually long, okay. So this is the problem. There was some sort of mix-up on my side. I didn't file a Form 5500 for my self-directed 401k.
Okay.
And this was simply because I didn't hit a button on an online thing. There was like this thing where you submit, and then you have to go back in and say, yeah, I really actually mean to submit for real. So it's just annoying and it's stupid, but it's like, here, Harry, you didn't really want that $1,500 anyway. Enjoy paying a fine. Awesome. So I pay the fine and I file all this stuff again, but because they're so slow processing it, they say, oh, well, we never got your stuff, which of course I sent to them. So then you send them the same stuff again saying, yes, I did, and here's another copy of it for your reference, which of course then starts a correspondence saying, oh yeah, well, we haven't had time to look at the thing you sent us yet. So we'll get back to you later. So I had multiple letters going back and forth with the same forms being filed multiple times, with different sets of people not making deadlines and sending me letters saying that they couldn't get back to me in time. So they were sending me a note to say that they were going to be late getting back to me. It was pretty funny, except for the fact that every time you get a letter from the IRS, there's that pucker factor before you open it, because you don't know what it's going to say.
That is true. There's nothing like a letter from the IRS to focus the mind.
Yeah, they are understaffed. I can tell you categorically they are understaffed, but that doesn't mean that we need 86,000 new auditors, because in Joseph Robinette Biden's mind, they think they're going to pay for all this stuff, all this pork, by going out and having these auditors get a whole bunch more money. That's all this is. It's going to be a huge shakedown. And trust me, they are going to find it. They're going to find it because they have the latitude to literally make shit up.
But they will go after the Republicans first. You watch and see. I think they want to weaponize the IRS that worked so well with justice that, they said, hey, Justice Department really fell in line. Let's see if we can do this with the IRS. Let's get a bunch of, red meat eating auditors on here and sick them on the Republicans. And there are lists out there who you can see who the Republicans are, and an audit of anybody's taxes will almost always pick up something that needs to be looked at, unless you're fine, literally filing on an easy form.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, as soon as they
think about sometimes.
They would love everybody to just work for a big company, because the big companies basically are surrogates for the government, right?
Yeah.
So if you work for a big company, the government can have the big company do all kinds of stuff. Yeah, diversity training, here, knock yourself out. All the stuff they want you to do, they can force you to do if you're part of a big company. It just burns them to think that there's people who didn't rack up student debts, who go out, become a journeyman electrician, work for a few years, then turn around and start a successful business, maybe employ like 20 people driving around in 20 different vans, destroying the planet. Front office, salespeople, maintenance people, stock people, just creating jobs everywhere. They can't handle that. They don't like that. The only jobs that Joe Biden has ever created are for people making like t-shirts and branded merchandise that says, "Let's go Brandon." That's like his total contribution to making jobs.
That's not far wrong.
Is "Let's go Brandon" mugs, t-shirts, flags.
Well, he has a traditional left-wing orientation, and that is the left always wants to use the law, use the courts, use the executive branch, use any way they can to get the people to fall into line with their plans for utopia, because that's what the left are. The left are utopians. They're utopians on the right too, but there's a preponderance of them on the left. They have a vision for how the world is supposed to work. You're not going to own anything anymore. You're going to use public transportation all the time. You won't have a place to live, and you'll be perfectly happy, or some such nonsense. The right is traditionally has been and still is to I still think a significant extent about promoting opportunity and promoting a free and fair marketplace where people can use their initiative, intelligence, and capital, and combine those things to make opportunities for other people to create more wealth. Those wealth creating structures, as I've said on the show many times, are the key to wealth creation and wealth maintenance in a society. And you have to have that myriad of trust relationships when money is exchanged for a good or service that build up wealth within an economy, and it has to keep happening. The problem with is that that's a lot easier to do in the semi-controlled chaos of a market. You get a lot more push toward accomplishment of new goals, new things that make people's lives better, things that change the world, change the environment, as opposed to the left, which wants to maintain, it wants tomorrow to look like yesterday. Okay, the person who is a bureaucrat, a person serving in a bureaucracy, does not want change. They want to hold on to their job. They want to reduce uncertainty in their lives. They want to make their way a little bit easier. And that means doing as little as possible and not making waves and hoping that the axe doesn't fall in their net in the bureaucracy. The left can't do that. The left says, no, we've got a plan. We're going to make we're going to make sure everyone has bread and a blanket, and that becomes the goal. And eventually you ratchet down to that goal, and you have almost enough bread, so only a few people are starving, and almost enough blankets, so only a few people are freezing to death, in a society that ought to be thriving and would be in a market economy. That's the problem with the left. That's the left's biggest problem, is that it doesn't understand the value of greed, frankly, as a motivator, of wanting to get ahead, of wanting to improve one's lot in life, of what a great society improver that is. I don't know.
Well, okay. It's not that I disagree with you, but let me try an alternate thing just so we have some conversation. I think that a lot of these people on the left, what the real problem is, they got picked last for dodgeball. and because they got picked last for dodgeball, they've got a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
They've been pissed off, so like little Jerry Nadler, he goes to school, and like some of the kids try to take his lunch money and stuff, but he's like, no, it's my money. You're not going to take it. So he takes his licks and he just goes to school, but he never gives up his lunch money because that's Jerry Nadler. And then recess comes along and it's like, we're going to pick teams for dodgeball. And little Jerry Nadler always gets picked next to last. The only kid that gets picked after him is the girl with the wonky eye. That's so he's always like right at the end. And he's like, when I grow up, I'm going to show these people because life isn't fair. And life isn't fair to me because I'm Jerry Nadler and mom told me I'm awesome. So he grows up.
Rail on top this time, massive.
He grows up and he figures out how to offer just enough stuff to people to get 50.0001% of the vote. And then he gets in government and he just doesn't leave.
Right.
Like he's like the guy who wants to live at the 24-hour all-you-can-eat buffet. He just figures if he doesn't have to leave, he can stay there and eat crab legs for $14.99 till he's dead. So he just shows up, and then because he's got this attitude about stuff, he sees people that have succeeded, and he's like, those are those same assholes that wouldn't pick me for dodgeball.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about. Because a lot of this stuff is about revenge. So you talk about a lot of the feminist stuff. I'm talking about feminism as like a company in the way that Black Lives Matter is a company. I'm not saying that feminism is necessarily bad, but feminists are often terrible. So these feminists are often, it's not about equality, it's about revenge. And with a
Yeah.
lot of these people that didn't get picked for dodgeball, it's about
Or
revenge, right?
our girl got humped and
Yeah.
dumped for the last time.
You didn't build that on your own. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
Barack Obama said the quiet part out loud. He was busy talking about how you basically owe what you have to the government. Because if it wasn't for the government, there wouldn't be streets to deliver the paper to your Let's Go Brandon poster factory, right? So
Yep.
it's not yours. And if you do get something, you must have done something wrong to get it. That's the problem. So they view everything through this lens of haves and have-nots, and the haves are always bad. See, where
Yep.
we see entrepreneurs and inventors and people who didn't take vacations and worked overtime and saved and opened up their own business, they see
Mhm.
people that have cheated the system. They've cheated the system by not being part of a union. They've left all these other people behind, and instead of pulling up their comrades around them, they just selfishly go and take possession of the means of production and then become the exploiters themselves. That's the way these people think. And they're just
Yeah.
full of crap. Sorry, that was a bit long.
Well, no, yeah, you're absolutely right, and they have that unrealistic view because they've never gone out and produced anything.
No, they
They
wouldn't know how. They don't, first of all, they don't have the guts.
that's boy, that's the truth. They do not have the balls that it takes to, you know.
Dude, some of the hours that I worked when I was
Oh,
trying to start my business, work out a full-time job, working like
preach it,
50, 60
preach it,
hours.
brother.
And it was pretty bad. It was pretty damn bad. You learn that you can actually take a pretty good nap if you take the pressure off your lower back. You can lie on the ground, just get something underneath your neck, but just put
Mhm.
your calves up over your swivel chair. That's actually pretty comfortable. Just put your head underneath your desk,
Mhm.
But the first desk I had in my business when I was building it was made out of computer boxes that I used. So I had like a 21-inch monitor, a CRT, precariously perched on a box that wanted to collapse, and then
Sure.
yeah, it was my
We've all had that, Harry.
I called it my Box Station 5000. But that annoying light makes
Oh
it hard to
God.
take your 20-minute nap that you get
Yeah.
when you're working 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
So you put your head under there and you hope that you won't wake up to a 21-inch monitor on your face, because that's the way things are. And these people haven't done that. They don't know. I mean, a lot of people who try to do entrepreneurial stuff lose everything. You look at restaurateurs, right? What is it? 2 out of 3 restaurants go out of business in the first 2 years.
Oh yeah.
It's
Yeah.
insane. But then you
Yeah.
get mad. Oh, look at this guy with his fancy restaurant making all this money. Do you realize how hard people work to get to those positions?
That's absolutely right. And a lot of the people working in that restaurant are failed restaurant entrepreneurs themselves.
Also to become
Something didn't work out.
to become a top chef, right? Like a world-class chef. The amount of
That's-
dishes that you
that's
have to
really
wash,
hard.
the amount of work you have to do is just crazy, And
Yeah.
the same thing goes with anybody who's at the top of their profession. It's all about sacrifice, but they don't want sacrifice. They just go, "Oh, I see an unequal outcome, therefore it must be oppression. Therefore, give me mine. Where's mine?"
That's it exactly. People don't want to work hard and uh that's basically it. People don't want to work hard. It starts with students. I'm really concerned. One of the biggest things I'm concerned about is the education unions in this country. I think that they have damaged the education system, the unions, and the education establishment have truly done a disservice to young people in America, and as a result, modern education is a shambles right now. Do you get the same feeling that the education situation is effectively hopeless because of the unions now, or am I just being unrealistic there too?
I am less worried about the unions than I am about the social change that's creating the students that are going to the school. I think a lot of things are really broken. I don't think that students are prepared to learn, and even if the teachers were a lot better, they probably wouldn't do terribly well. But the deck is stacked against them. The teachers have been drinking their own Kool-Aid for so long that they don't have the students' best interests at heart. They have all sorts of things that they want. They want to help the teachers union because the teachers union is good. Therefore, anything that helps the union is a good thing. And they want equal outcomes for students. They don't care if they have to make everybody incredibly inept. They just want everything to be equal. If you went to them and said, have I got a thing for you? If you just change the lecture ever so slightly, the outcomes for the boys would go up 100% in mathematics and 50% for the girls. They'd say, well, no, we can't do that. That would be wrong, but everybody will do better. No. If it doesn't help everybody equally, we literally will not do it. And that's not an exaggeration. They won't. They are much more concerned with outcomes that have nothing to do with or academic performance. So you've got students that don't really have the intellectual maturity to learn, combined with teachers who don't really have the students' best interests at heart. The good news is, if you're an autodidact, this is a great time to be alive because you can learn. All of the world's knowledge is readily available, right? So if you're somebody that doesn't need somebody else to teach you, that you can teach yourself, there has never been a better time to be alive. But unfortunately, that's like 1% of people maybe. So it's a great time to be alive for 1% of the people. Everybody else is pretty much screwed. But those 1% of the people are going to be the ones fixing all the robots for the luxury socialism.
Yeah, that's the...
Did you ever see Idiocracy?
Yeah, I did see that movie a long time ago.
That movie's actually really great. I really do like that movie.
Yeah, the smartest guy in the world is like a guy of very average intelligence or something. That's what I remember.
Yeah, he's like an average guy or maybe slightly below average guy from now who ends up waking up in the future, but all of the dumb people had like a bajillion kids and all the smart people had 0 kids. So the premise is that everybody's just an idiot. So you've got buildings leaning against each other and everything is basically AI. All the doctors, airplanes, and everything is basically AI with a bunch of idiots trying to maintain it. I don't think that movie is as funny as I used to.
No, it kind of feels prophetic, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's becoming progressively less funny. I keep thinking that if somebody got to the point where their kid had cancer and somebody walks into the room and you start wondering whether they were a diversity hire or whether they were really the best person to get that position at medical school, that might change their minds. But I have a feeling these people would literally rather let their kid die than appear to be racist.
That's golly, I can't even react to that remark.
Well, we had those people. The guy who was a dude who was in the government in Sweden who got culturally enriched by a migrant in his nether regions.
Yes,
and then wouldn't file charges against him because he didn't want anything bad to happen to the guy because
it wasn't really his fault.
Yeah, it wasn't really his fault.
He has urges. He came from a different culture. All the little sweet tales that they tell themselves to assure their virtuousness and their perfect understanding of others, so that they can continue that mental masturbation that is virtue signaling.
Well, sorry, I'm getting into a bit of a rant mode. Where do you want to go with this? Because otherwise I'm just going to keep ranting if you don't give me a direction.
Well, I just kind of enjoy it. I'm enjoying your ranting, but
I was looking at Lisp the other day.
You were looking at Lisp?
Yeah, I have actually never taken the time to learn to code in Lisp.
Okay.
So I was busy looking. I was looking in Lisp, and because I use Emacs as my editor, and so it's just natural to know how to do stuff in Lisp. And I love in a lot of these videos they have where you should learn Lisp. It's a programming language. It's been around like forever. I
It
like
was
the
the first
sales.
language you could ever do object-oriented programming.
Well, I
in,
like the sales
truly.
pitches that people give you, because it's like at the beginning of every video, it's like, well, there's this really old computer language that most people don't know anymore, but you should
Mhm.
totally learn it. I really like the sales pitches for why you should learn this old language. It's
Yeah.
almost as good as reading wine bottles. Because wine bottles have like these amazing stories written on them that make absolutely no sense. They'll start talking about like Camelot and God knows what else.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Lisp is, of course, not
It's a
really.
thing you know about.
Yeah, it's not really a suitable language for anyone. Kids don't go
Okay.
out and learn
Here,
Lisp.
let me read you.
Go and learn C++, and all
Okay,
good.
here, let me read you a little bit of copy that I found on a bottle of expensive balsamic vinegar. Okay, so I had this bottle of expensive balsamic vinegar. I thought I'd try the better stuff. So
Okay.
here's the copy. An ancient recipe hidden among old memories and dusty papers of an attic. A balsamic vinegar of Modena that reminds of ancient flavors and scents. Dahl, 1891, is the result of a meticulous selection of grapes and of a particular cooking process of must left to mature in precious oak barrels. It is dense and velvety. Its delicate bouquet and full-bodied structure are balanced harmoniously. The sweet flavor of cooked must combines perfectly with the pleasant, woody aftertaste to offer a real emotion to the palate. Ideal to exalt the taste of cooked vegetables, salads, risotto, and pies, or to enrich fish and meat dishes. Let it
That's just
surprise you.
that just makes me want to go eat a Twinkie.
What a load of pretentious crap.
That is utter.
What a load of pretentious crap that is.
But that's wine speak generally. Wine speak has been that way, for years. I mean, yes, there are flavors you can identify in wine, yeah, but they have really gone off the deep end. Some of the hilarious, um, if you look up like ridiculous wine descriptions, um, let's see, where was the one? Yeah, the forest floor one. Imagine taking a hike in an old growth forest. What's that musty, funky, dense smell reminiscent of dirt covered mushrooms? You got it. Forest floor. This is the most frequently used to describe Pinot Noir, especially from Burgundy and Oregon. If you want to get fancy and masquerade as a wine geek, use the French term sous bois. Means under the trees,
Yeah.
underwood. Or tobacco. Who doesn't like the smell of tobacco? High quality Cabernet Sauvignon from Bordeaux and California often smell like fresh tobacco. Older wines aged in oak barrels and subsequently in the bottle can offer more mature notes of cigar box. Who doesn't love the smell of a cigar box?
What, they didn't mention Flint at any point? I'm surprised.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, to hear these people, some of the Democrats, try to sell people on why it's good that they're putting all this extra money into the IRS did actually remind me of some of that stuff, because it's like, do you actually believe the things you're saying? Or are you just trying to grease the skids for all the pork that you've put in this thing? And it's the latter. They'll say anything and do anything to anybody in order to to get their favorite pork through. They've got their constituencies that they have to pay off.
Right.
And those constituencies are, solar this and green that and whatever. They're creating jobs that will last, for generations for some of these people. Because they need a place to be when they're out of government. It's important that they create their necessary number of think tanks and nonprofits that when these people get driven out of government, when the red tsunami comes in a few months, that they have some place to park these people until they can weasel their way back into government.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I was wanted to ask you about what you think about the red tsunami. Do you really think that's going to be a red tsunami?
I think that we need to use the term cowabunga to describe it, so that cowabunga becomes listed as hate speech or extremist red flag, because it is going to be surfs up. I think that this thing with Trump was a huge miscalculation. You know, much like
No, I agree with
invading a country claiming that there are weapons of mass destruction, but then not finding any, unless they produce
I
something.
hate it when that happens.
Well, unless they produce something amazing that that retroactively justifies their little fishing expedition, and I mean something dramatic and quickly, it's gonna all blow up in their face. And even especially enriched election voting process that's been thoroughly fortified probably isn't going to stop them at this point.
Yeah.
Don't worry, the new auditors won't start until November 3rd.
God.
I don't think I'm not a big gloom and doom kind of person. Like, I don't think that the whole country's going to collapse or anything over this, but I think that they really are just trying to put out a fire with like an aerial tanker full of gasoline.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter which excuse me, which school of economic thought you subscribe to. There's nothing about spending a whole bunch of money at the government level, especially money that you don't really have, that's going to stop inflation.
No.
They don't care about inflation. They actually want it, because this is what they're doing to redistribute money from people like you to people that are fresh out of school who want their student loans forgiven.
Right.
Yeah, it is actually a mechanism they're using to redistribute income. The inflation is a feature in the same sense the high gas prices are a feature.
Say before, I had said that I only wanted to go for an hour tonight because I'll let everybody know my wife has got some dental surgery tomorrow morning.
Oops. Sorry,
and
man.
she's an early patient, and so I've got a driver there in the morning, and that is my rationale for cutting it a little bit short this evening. But I have a fun task. It's a scavenger hunt for all of us. You and I and chat can all play. You ready?
Yep.
You only have to find one thing. You ready? Find me the major subject, what she majored in college for her undergraduate degree. Corinne Jean-Pierre, the press secretary. In her Wikipedia article, in official school correspondence, her major is repeatedly referred to as unspecified. And I want to know if that Bronx or Brooklyn College, wherever she went to undergraduate school before she got her master's in public administration from Columbia, I think. I want to know what her undergraduate major was, and I'll bet nobody can find it. My Google foo is not terrible. It's not as good as yours, Harry. Maybe you can find it. I could not find it. But I put that out as a challenge. Find me what she majored in. And if she majored in general studies, if you can find that, I would be interested in that. But I find it very interesting that this appears to be totally suppressed. And I want to know why. I know that she did not get into medical school because her MedCats were too low. But that's all I know. It looks like she had a busted pre-med major, and I'm going to guess and say it probably ended up as a general studies degree. But I noticed that she very loudly proclaims, "I have a Bachelor of Science," and then what area? It's in nothing. So you can't find out what the area is. So it's I suspect that in when you were talking about affirmative action hires, I'm sorry, but you can't tell me that she got that job on merit. She got that job because of some other characteristics that have nothing to do with her abilities as a press secretary. It's not racist to say that. They announced with pride that she's the first LGBTQ plus blah 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 woman of color, etc. And I understand the significance of that. I just don't think it should be the determining thing for uh, who gets to be the press secretary of the United States. And if this is somebody who has been pushed into a position, and from everything I see her trying to do, it doesn't look like she's very good at it. Uh, this isn't just a small view of something wrong with the country. But I thought I'd have a little fun with it. We'll see if anybody in chat can come back next week and tell me what Corinne Jean-Pierre majored in, what her major area is. I know it was a Bachelor in Science. I know she went to a little school in New York, undergraduate. But if you could find me what science she majored in, I would love to hear that. Just want to make sure that got out there.
Well, one good thing about a lot of these affirmative action things and grievance studies is that for the longest time you'd go to work and you'd see somebody who's just incompetent. And you think, how the hell did this bastard get into this position?
Right.
And so you talk about the Peter principle, or, you'd say, is it nepotism? How did this person get their job? And for the longest time, all of that violence, that verbal violence, was really directed at white men. Now, thanks to affirmative action, those guys don't get nearly as much attention as they used to. Because there's all these other people who go, yeah, how did this idiot get this job? Well, I don't see anybody who looks like they might possibly be this person's father or mother. So maybe nepotism isn't it. Maybe there's some other reason. Oh, was this person an affirmative action hire? Or yeah. So it really, I think incompetent white men probably should be thanking a lot of the modern social changes.
Taking the heat off.
It's taken a lot of the heat off, because for every Jean-Pierre that's there, that makes Blinky's job that much easier, because we're not talking about how bad Blinken is and a bunch of these other guys. We're talking about just because Jean-Pierre is just like this glaring example of incompetence.
Yeah, that's true. And she's, she's out there. She's very much in the public eye. There are hugely incompetent people in Biden's cabin. That Assistant Secretary of Health Human Services, the one who is like a 5-star admiral or something.
Oh well, that's the assistant. But I mean, you could probably hide 5, maybe 10 incompetent, or more or less incompetent white guys behind one Jean-Pierre. She could defer that much attention from those guys.
Absolutely. Yeah. She's an attention magnet. And I'm hoping that, maybe this will only be around. Maybe this whole woke thing will be like disco and we'll laugh at it. I hope so.
Yeah. I don't give a crap what color her skin is, because it's not like I'd ever bring it up. I can't remember ever running into a person of color, or whatever term we're supposed to use right now, and going, hey, just noticed you're black. It's like, I don't care. It's not, it's like, unless somebody else even brings it up, it's not even going to become a topic of conversation. The same thing with the gay thing. If you're in a work situation and somebody else doesn't bring it up, it's not even going to enter into the discussion. That's how unimportant it is.
Some other people oppress some other people. Some other people you don't know oppressed other people you don't know. That's why you have to pay.
Yeah, there's an invisible field of oppression that functions, and we can't actually measure it, but we can see the effect it has on particles of color. That's how we know it's there. We infer its existence from the effects that it has on other things. Yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah, the sociology department at the University of Michigan has confirmed. Yeah, right.
I feel like I'm just starting to get warmed up, so you should probably call it fairly soon before we start a topic we can't finish.
Yeah, very, very good.
Yeah.
Spud says she graduated in 1997 with a Bachelor of Science degree in life science. Okay, I saw the article that said that she was in the life sciences, and
What does that mean exactly?
yeah, I suspect what happened was this started out to be a biology degree until we hit calculus, and once the math got real, we turned into a general degree. But I read the thing that said that she had studied in life sciences, but I didn't see where that university awarded a bachelor of science in life science. But that you might be onto something. I will check that out. I appreciate that.
Well, her
Thank
degree
you very
has the word
much.
science in it, and the major has science in it, so it's like science.
Angry ethnic lesbian studies assassin.
Yeah. I went to school with a couple of really bright people, and there was this one girl. She was really very, very bright. She's well, I mean, I've told a story about her the other time, but we won't connect the dots right at the moment. But I remember talking to her father because when I was a kid, I used to get along with the parents way better than the kids most of the time. So I was talking to her father when she ended up changing her major from something real, like real engineering, to some sort of environmental engineering thing. So it was one of those squishy degrees that wasn't really an engineering degree and wasn't really a biology degree. It wasn't really anything. It was
Yeah.
just this thing that just sort of existed in the perineum between scientific disciplines. It was not good. And the look on his face, you know, he's just like so crushed. It's kind of like, I can't understand why my really smart, bright, competent daughter is going to get this ridiculous, stupid degree. I felt really bad for him at the time.
Yeah.
Because, you know, even the thing is, she was really smart, and
Yep.
she and how smart people get seduced into programs like this. I don't think Jean-Pierre got seduced into this major because she's smart, by the way. But there are a lot of these. There are a lot of these. There's a lot of these useless degrees that people pick up, and just because somebody's clever doesn't mean that they're immune to social pressure. And they bring these people in and they give them these worthless educations, and then it's just a real problem. I did notice that Reason magazine, or Reason the channel, is starting to say the same stuff I was saying 2 years ago when I was talking to you at first, that this whole student loan thing, that they should just treat it as personal bankruptcy. That's the deal that I was willing to give them. You know, stop treating the debt as like double secret debt that you can't get out of no matter what, and just treat it like a personal bankruptcy. Because if they can't pay it off anyway, there's no point in pretending that they can. And you might as well let them get on with their lives, but at least let people who are going to give them credit know that they aren't probably all that smart about how they handle their money, and you may not want to loan them more of it.
What percentage of those loans are guaranteed by the government?
No clue. Do you know?
Interesting to know. No, I don't.
Well, those are the ones they were talking about forgiving. It's just, there's just so much crap going on, man. I mean, between, but of course, the whole raiding the house, the personal residence of a former U.S. president on a fishing expedition, instead of appointing a special counsel, which is the way you handle something like this, if there was something to handle, is amazing. This is going to go down in the history books. And people say that all the time, but this legitimately will be in the history books. History was made, and it wasn't the good kind.
92%, Eric.
92%?
Yeah. That's from NerdWallet. That's a good site.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go take care of your wife.
Yeah. God, we're just getting going here. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to call it because I've got to get to bed. We've got to get some sleep, and she's got to be rested and be ready to go in the morning. It's not too ruinously, you know, it's not that shitty gum surgery that people get. So this is about implants and stuff.
Yeah.
So old people dentistry. But anyway, yeah, I'm sorry to have to call it after only an hour tonight, but I've got to get to bed. That's just the way it is. And but it's always great to come out and hang with my friends, hang with you, Harry. Miss Prospero tonight. I know she's got a lot of irons in the fire these days.
She'll be back soon.
Yeah, I can't wait. And I'm not. Cannibalistic wizard. It's an unkind thing to suggest.
It does remind me of a joke, but I'm too much of a gentleman to say it. Anyway,
I'm a little touchy where Mrs. Skep is concerned, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, you should be. You obviously like her. You're going to drive her to the thing tomorrow.
Damn right.
Yeah. Oh, and we'll see. I'll see you on Saturday probably.
That absolutely. You'll see me on Saturday, and I will. Maybe we'll have confirmation on what Corinne Jean Pierre's major was, but at any rate, for tonight we're going to have to call it, and I'm going to get out of here. So, thanks for coming. Thank you, chat, for coming out and listening to us. Thank you, Harry, for hanging with me, and we'll give full measure next Tuesday. But for tonight, the zoo is closed. Thanks for